Who would make the perfect rugby commissioner for the Gallagher Premiership, or whatever form Premiership or professional rugby in England takes in the months and the years ahead? Who would be the perfect person if you were going to make someone a commissioner, and someone independent from all of the clubs with an overarching remit to make communications when they're needed, to make decisions when they're needed, even if it upsets some people because you're thinking long term about the overall vision and the growth of the sport? Who would be that perfect person? And this is a question that's become more relevant recently, obviously with the financial issues that some clubs have had. But off the back of that, people like Pat Lam have said rugby needs a commissioner. Alex Lewington recently, the Saracens winger, was saying the administration of rugby isn't modern or professional enough, and that is limiting the growth of the sport. And the financial viability, the long-term growth, the strategy and vision is, I think, what a lot of people are sitting up and saying needs to be nailed down. And that commissioner role in the way that someone like Roger Goodell for the NFL does, you have an individual there, and yes, he'll have his advisors, but ultimately you have one person who is accountable and who makes decisions, sometimes ones which the 32 organisations in the NFL, some of them might not like, but they have to swallow it because there is someone there untethered from any of the individual organisations, but working for the benefit of everybody over the long term. And Roger Goodell has done that successfully with the NFL. If rugby were going to have that kind of a character, who would it be? I've got 3 contenders. I would love to know your reaction to mine and your suggestions for your own. Get them in the comments. First suggestion from me, Leon Lloyd. Former Leicester Tiger. I think he played for England, didn't he, Leon Lloyd? Got close if he didn't actually play there. I think he may have done. Anyway, he was a very successful rugby player, European and Premiership champion, transitioned through that period from amateurs to the professional era of the game. Now in his mid-40s, he's been in fact, possibly, arguably more successful off the field than on it. A very successful businessman, sharp cookie, business acumen, rugby intellect. He hasn't been involved in the administration or the day-to-day working within a rugby club, so he's kind of had that distance and been able to see it from the bird's eye view. And I think Leon Lloyd would be a great shout for a rugby commissioner. There's the first of my suggestions. The second, a former teammate of Leon Lloyd. This one will be divisive, but I 100% mean this when I say it. Austin Healey would make an amazing commissioner for the Gallagher Premiership. Divisive character. Not everybody's cup of tea, but that's kind of the charm of the guy. I love him. I've been lucky enough to work with him for the last, 7 years. And you will not find a sharper rugby mind. You see that all the time on BT Sport. The way that Oz can see things that other people don't spot, but then manage to convey complex, tactical, nuanced, tiny details to the audience at home in a really succinct, simple way. That just, I think, demonstrates, and best in the business at that just demonstrates why he has such how he has such a brilliant rugby intellect. But just like Leon Lloyd, who I mentioned, a very, very successful man off the field. In fact, you probably couldn't pay Austin Healey enough to do the commissioner's job. He probably doesn't need to work at BT Sport, to be honest. He does it just because he loves the sport. And so, in fact, actually, I'm going back on what I just said. I think Austin probably would be interested in a rugby commissioner's role, not for the money or the prestige or anything, but because he genuinely loves the sport. And I think he would have some really, really good ideas. And if you wanted someone who would be happy to take difficult decisions and ruffle feathers or upset people when it's needed and have their eye on the bigger prize, I think Austin Healey could be a great shout. But I appreciate that won't be to everyone's liking. Particularly I was going to say in Wales, but actually they don't mind. They probably welcome it because it's the rival English league. Anyway, my final suggestion, Steve Diamond. Can you imagine? In fact, I'd make the commissioner role with Steve Diamond in it so wide-ranging that on a match day, if a referee I'd sack TMOs off, and you just get the referee on the hotline to Dimes. Dimes, we've got just want to check that one. Yeah, red card, get him off. Be amazing. Genuinely, Steve Diamond, I think his stock has risen recently in the eyes of a lot of people because of the way he's conducted himself through the Worcester situation. He's done that very impressively, and that just adds to the fact that he's been a really successful coach. And, like the other two I mentioned, very successful businessman in his own right. Another person who, well, he was building a consortium to try and take over at Worcester, which gives you an indication as to how well he's done. It looks like that's not going to be successful. Therefore, he's on the open market, maybe to be Gallagher Premiership's commissioner. You can imagine if there was something going wrong and you were looking around going, what's happening, as has happened with a bunch of different issues in the recent past. Dimes would not shy away from stepping up in front of the cameras, and he would say exactly how it is. And I think people would warm to the sport as a result. I think he's got rugby intellect. He understands how the organisation's run. He'll have good empathy with the owners and the coaches and the players. And rugby and business intellect in spades. And much like Austin Healey, would have massive entertainment value in that kind of Roger Goodell or Vince McMahon kind of role. And that would be no bad thing in my mind for rugby. There's my 3 suggestions. Would love to know yours. Leave them in the comments. Hit like and subscribe. If you've got to this point in the video, well, thank you very much. Hopefully I've earned your subscription on this one. That's what I'm striving for. If not, please consider pressing that now and the notification bell. Share the video, and I'll see you on the next one.